Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus. We're very happy this morning to have an exemplary person from the city of North Chicago, Mr. Vance Wyatt. He's a trustee for the North Chicago Library Board of Directors, and matter of fact, he was the youngest library trustee in the United States history at 20 years of age. Good morning, Vance.
Good morning, Dr. Brooks.
We're very happy that you're taking time for your busy schedule to be with us on Community Focus. Lake County is approximately 750 to 800,000 people, but I don't know how many up at 5 o'clock this Sunday morning listen to the program. But I understand we got a pretty good audience here. You're the youngest library trustee in the United States history at 20 years of age. Now you are a candidate for the, Foss Park Commissioner?
Correct. I'm running for Foss Park Commissioner for the 2015 election now. I was appointed to the library board at 20 in 2011 after I had lost my election for alderman in the 4th Ward.
Okay.
The reason why I decided to run for alderman in the first place was because we had so many things that we didn't have any economic development going on in North Chicago, but where I was going to school was outside of the west side of Chicago, so I would pass through there, and they were getting brand new grocery stores. As you know, we don't have a grocery store in North Chicago. Right. So I just said, hey, I can go out here, let's run against my alderman, whoever he is, and let's make a difference in our community. Now I went to the 5th Ward meeting, and I've seen that the mayor is open to my idea that I had when I was 19 and 20 of opening up the commissary for the community. So I guess I got the right ideas. We just need to implement them throughout the community.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Vance Wyatt. He's currently a trustee of North Chicago Library, and he's the candidate for Foss Park Commissioner. And he's quite active. He ran for an alderman, as he just mentioned, in the 4th Ward, trying to make a difference in the city of North Chicago. When, in order to attract people into a city, they want to look at the growth in the city. They want to look at leadership, the housing and schools, and also parks. So it's quite a bit. If you want to draw people into your city, these things will have to be challenging. If they're challenging to our city fathers. And we have a young man here that's interested in trying to make a difference. Vance, first of all, tell our listening also a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Currently, I am an auditor for Audi Financial / Volkswagen Credit. Mm-hmm. And I have why I got into finance is because I'm working on an MBA in finance from Concordia University. Prior to that, I got my undergraduate degree from National Louis University with a major in management and a minor in public policy. Honestly, I just said, hey, I wanted to make a difference in our community. That's why I decided to run. I didn't have any type of professional experience, I guess, in the foray of government. I did end up after my graduation with my bachelor's degree with a minor in public policy. I did get an opportunity to serve on the Illinois Library Association's Public Policy Committee, mm-hmm. where what we deal with is all the laws that go through the General Assembly, so our state Senate and our state House of Representatives. Any law that pertains to the library, we have to look at those laws. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out which laws are best for the libraries, not just for North Chicago, but throughout the entire state. Mm-hmm. It's a big difference between Northern Illinois and Southern Illinois. Their wants and desires and needs are completely different, and we have to balance that. Mm-hmm. One thing we did do recently, back in 2013, was the concealed carry law. There was 40 different laws that we had to look at, and we had to figure out which one was the best one. Mm-hmm. And we currently have one where it prohibits someone from bringing a firearm into the library, which is what we wanted, primarily what the northern part of the state wanted. It really wasn't as popular downstate, but we felt that was the best for the entire state as a whole. and the General Assembly did approve it, and we completely backed it.
Well, we as citizens of North Chicago are very happy that we have youngsters here that are interested, because if we're going to have a change in the city, it's going to we have to have new ideas and new people coming into that's taking interest in running for public office. And you have a wide interest here, young man here interested in the library, the city council, and also now the Foss Park Commissioners. And we don't find too many of our youngsters doing this. Now, maybe this will encourage other youngsters to take part. But tell us about, first of all, your accomplishments as first year of Trustee Library Board.
My first year of being on the library board, it was a challenge, being 20 years old and not getting everything done as quickly as I would like it. But we did get a few things done. I worked with our director and our staff to find 12% of our budget, and we were able to cut a lot of that waste out of that budget, and we were able to bring more programs. That same year, we completely redid we got rid of all of our old computers and upgraded before the city did. Mind you, the city has $39 million. We have less than $1 million operating budget per year. The city's just getting around to upgrading their computers to where we are at now, and we're already looking at expanding.
Wow.
Some of our policies that we have for the library, they either couldn't be found or we had them, but they were from 1979, which was a year before my mother graduated from high school.
Wow.
So that's how old some of these policies were. So I took the initiative and started writing some of these policies, one of which was our library card and circulation policy, where we had a dispute between Lake Bluff Library and North Chicago Library. They didn't run this actual article in the New Sun. They ran in the Lake Forester, saying that the North Chicago Library was stealing money from them. Well, that wasn't factual. Now, if you go online and try to find it, you can't find it because it was inaccurate.
Yeah.
We called them out on it, and we rewrote our policy to reflect it, so that there was no issue, and there had never been an issue prior, and we wrote the policy to never have an issue going forward. That's just some of the things I can think of off the top of my head.
That's quite an accomplishment as a first year that come in and off and running and getting things done. Now, what piqued your interest to be a candidate for Foss Park Commissioner?
Well, my father worked for the Foss Park Commission or Foss Park District when I was a child. Oh, okay. He did maintenance for the Park District, primarily down at the big park, which is next to the FBI shooting range on the lakeshore. And even when I was a kid, there were some programs, but there weren't many. So I ended up having to go outside of our community, going to Waukegan or Lake Bluff or Libertyville just to get simple programs, say karate, robotics. That was a program that the Abbott Labs put on for us. But we should have these same programs right here in our community instead of having kids to go outside the community. And when you have a community where individuals may not be able to get their kids out there to those various other communities, a lot of these times these kids can't get access to it because either their parents are working and they just don't have the time to take them out there, or they may not have the financial resources. So what I want us to do is be able to have these programs here in the community. And if we can't get them in the community, because we understand some programs are not going to be, we may only have one or two kids, but I want to partner with other park districts. Okay, well, we'll use those vans that we had. When I used to be a kid, we had latchkey where we would get picked up from Green Bay School and go back to the youth center. Well, why don't we take our kids, go out to Gurnee, go out to Lake Bluff, go to Waukegan? Since we may only have one or two kids that, for instance, I play tennis, we only might have one kid that play tennis. But he'll have an opportunity to play tennis. That way he's getting out of trouble. He's not going to be getting in trouble because he's going to be running the streets at night or after school. And actually, if you look at any study, they show that there's a correlation between kids that don't have any after school programs and violence. We have to cut off the tide for or the supply of new gang members by giving these kids programs and something to do after school. We've done that at the library, but we're only open till 7:30. Most time when you go to the library, they're either reading. Maybe we do have a game day now, but that's not enough. We need to keep these kids. Their not only their minds pumping, but their hearts racing because they're playing some type of sport. They're going to be too tired to go out there and try to break into someone's home, for instance. My mother's home just got broken into on Thursday night. And if we have something for these kids to do so that they're not hanging out with the wrong crowd, we're not going to have the same type of issues that we've had for the last 10 to 20 years.
Now, at Foss Park, the programs that are implemented are with athletic events and so forth.
Currently, they have basketball, wrestling. They're trying to. I know you had on your TV show you had brought on for the baseball.
Yeah,
that is something I wanted to bring on as well as baseball.
Here we have Mr. Husel. It's Huisel. Husel. He's from Gurnee, and he wants to come in North Chicago and start a baseball team.
And we need that.
Once we had baseball, but I don't know what happened. And at the city council, we had a young lady. I think she was outside of North Chicago, want to start boxing. Boxing here in the city. So we have people. At one time, that was football. We had Do we still have the football?
We still have Flames football.
Flames. Okay. And you mentioned about tennis. I know there's his name was Steve from Lake Forest Bank, I believe it was. He attempted to come in and have tennis, coach tennis here. So we have people outside. We had Senator Kirk, I guess, after 3 people were killed, I guess, he got the funds to have basketball courts there on the Foss Park property.
Yes.
Is that still being in use?
Those basketball courts are being used during the summer.
Okay.
But the thing is, I know with the Foss Park District just purchased AJK, so they're trying to have an indoor gym as well. In that respect,
you say the Foss Park District?
Or not AJK? I'm sorry, Novak King.
Okay,
I'm thinking because I went to when I was in 6th grade, I was at AJK before they made it elementary. But Novak King, they purchased that, so they have the
for $1.
Yeah, for $1.
Yeah.
There are some repairs that they're going to have to do for the rest of the building, which is any type of old building you're going to have to do repairs on. We do it at the library. It's likely going to happen even with the school.
So we get these events going back. Now, are they costly for the parents?
Our goal is to go. Well, at least what we've been doing at the libraries. We've been going out to get state and local grants, or state and federal grants, but we're also going out to get private grants. So even getting donations, say from Google, to get Chromebooks. So I would look at the same way for the Park District, get donations for tennis rackets. For instance, when I was at the high school, our tennis coach would get free tennis rackets from the Lake Forest Tennis Club. We had pretty much brand new rackets. A lot of times we did have brand new rackets, all donated from those clubs. So we can go. There's avenues out there to get supplies that will reduce the cost, so that the cost won't be that high for the parents. My goal would be to get it as low as possible. I mean, I can't say it will be free, but as low as possible.
I know you also a large program supported by the Foss Park District, the senior program. Do you plan to emphasize that or continue that or promote it? Because I don't know how active the senior program is now.
Well, I don't know how active it is. I mean, because the information hasn't been going out really in North Chicago. That's been the biggest problem. Even for us at the library, we implemented a marketing committee just to deal with our marketing, our programs, because sometimes we put the information out there, but not enough people show up. So what I would think what we should do at the Park District is have something similar where we look at what do people want? What do the seniors want? I mean, there's no point of paying for it if the seniors don't want to take part of it. That would be a waste of money, and then what they're going to end up doing is increasing your property taxes again and again just to pay for programs that nobody wants. So I think we need to have a focus on what the community wants and what they do they need, because seniors are living longer. We need something for them to do besides just traditional, say, bingo or something along those lines. For instance, I play tennis out on the Highland Park courts, because our courts in North Chicago, you have to request to have the the nets put up. You have to go to the park district, then wait for them to come put the nets up for you just to play in our own town.
Wow.
So I go to Highland Park. There's individuals out there in their 80s playing tennis.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you can play sports well into your 80s, and if we keep people active throughout their adult life, so that's another thing I want to do is address for working adults, have programs, say basketball, volleyball, different sports just for them as well. So that way you have the kids, you have the parents, and then you also have the grandparents that are all active. That will actually help reduce even our health costs as well, because you're going to keep being healthy, and that's going to help reduce blood pressure and high cholesterol as well, which is two big problems that we have within the African American community alone.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Mr. Vance Wyatt, a young man who's interested in improving the city of North Chicago. He's interested in the city council there at one time. He ran he's currently a trustee of the library board. Now he's a candidate for Foss Park. That's trying to make a difference in the city of North Chicago. Now, Mr. Wyatt, in order to, you have to have a plan, a strategic plan, a comprehensive plan, no matter what entity, that you're involved with. But I know you have one for the library, but what about the Foss Park? Have you checked to see whether they had any type of plan?
They do have a plan. It's 1 to 2 pages. It's very short. Okay. It doesn't give any way of tracking on how they're actually doing it. Just saying what they want to do. It doesn't say, okay, by stage 1, this is how where we should be at. Stage 2, this is where we should be at. It doesn't give you any way of tracking their progression along that plan. Which in a sense, I mean, it just really is just words. And I'm tired in North Chicago. We just hear a lot of words. We want to do this, we want to do that, and nothing ever happens. And because of that, that's why the Park District, for instance, has increased property taxes 60% over the last 8 years.
Wow.
With the economic crash of 2008, we didn't lay off a single person at the library. We actually hired people because we made cuts. We made the appropriate changes within the operations of the library. The Park District needs to do the same thing. In 2013, for instance, they lost over $250,000 at the golf course. Now, at one time, the golf course was $1 million entity. It was making millions of dollars. Well, why is it losing money now? It doesn't make sense for us to be losing money at what was our revenue maker. Now,
there's auditing. Has auditing taken place?
There was an audit for the FY 2014. However, the board has not voted on it to make it public, available, saying that this is the actual audit. The last one we have available is the 2013. That's where they show that the Park District lost over $250,000 just at the golf course alone.
Wow.
They were doing fund swaps, which is pretty much what the state of Illinois has been doing, where they move money from one fund to another fund to be able to cover their costs, so that it shows that they have money in the bank, but they aren't actually operating in a surplus. They are operating in a deficit. And when I called them out on that, they said one of my opponents that's running this election, who was a commissioner at that time, said I didn't know how to read the budget. And on their website, it just says $3 million is revenue and $4 million is expenses, which gives you a negative number. So that's not a deficit. And he said I didn't know what I was talking about.
So there's budgetary challenges in the Foss Park District. Right?
Yeah, there's going to be. They changed the way that they did their budget because of when I brought up that they were running a deficit, and it was so. Now they make it more complicated, where what it is a budget appropriation ordinance. So you actually have to individually add up every single fund. Prior to that, they just gave you at the bottom saying this is our deficit or surplus. Now, I mean, their deficit is smaller. It's not $1 million, but it's still going to be some tough challenges ahead when you have a golf course that's supposed to be your moneymaker, losing money. My focus would be to get the golf course back on track of making money and taking that money and then putting that back into the community instead of just giving it back to the golfers. I have a lot of my opponents are just golfers. That's been our problem at the Foss Park District, because they're focusing more on golf versus the community. And that's why we're in the shape that we're in. That's why we have the crime that we're in, because we need to give our kids programs to keep them out of trouble after school and during the summer as well.
We have a situation now that is some more challenges, and as far as the positions of the commissioners, I think there may be enough left for a quorum because of the situation there, and it's public knowledge about toys that were a question about the handling of the toys. So two commissioners are not allowed to serve. So there's 2 seats that will be as open, and there's only 3 commissioners, I understand, that will be in office. Now this is another challenge there because you have the training, you have the education, you've been trained and so forth to handle budgetary situations and how to manage and so forth. And these are the type of people we want on the board. And you mentioned they're board members that they're primarily for golfing. As a matter of fact, in golfing, the last meeting I attended, they were determining how many free passes they could give away. Mm-hmm. And boy, I was just, is this normally happen? They give free passes to so many people there to use
at least
the golf course?
At the Foss Park District, that's been normal. I don't know about other park districts because I know with Lake Bluff, their commissioners did used to get free golf passes as ours did, but they got rid of that. Sandy Hart, who is my county commissioner, she was on the board at that time, and they got rid of their free golf passes to their commissioners. And I think
not only the commissioners, but
also
signatures outside.
They give people, say, it could be any random citizen. They've been giving them out. I think that we need to curtail that because that's loss of revenue that we have coming into the golf course. Now, I think, you do want to show off your golf course. So that there is a benefit to it, but you can't just give them all away where you're losing so much money. Where we're at with the golf course, we need to find revenues in the golf course. Which one thing is stop giving out so many free passes.
I noticed that this is a citywide election, and it's not by districts. It's open.
Yes, it's
okay.
So
now,
it's the top vote. Two vote getters will be elected. So I'm working with Kenneth Robinson, who's the city treasurer, to get elected. We will be having some signs going out this week. I know a lot of my opponents have already been putting their signs up, but the main thing is not that signs don't vote. Last time I ran for in my last election, I had signs thrown up in trees and stomped into the ground, ripped up, stolen. But at the end of the day, it's about the people. It's the people that matter. I was out knocking doors on Saturday, and I had a great number of individuals I had the opportunity to talk to. Most people don't even know how bad it is actually with the operation of our park district and in some other areas of the city. And that's why, because people haven't known about it, that's why our school district got into the shape that it's in. As you know, our school district is the worst in the entire state of Illinois now.
It's below East St. Louis.
It's below East St. Louis now.
So East St. Louis was at the bottom,
and we were the second to the bottom, and now we're at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh boy, and I'm from East St. Louis, and so I know how the situation East St. Louis is in. Then I come up here to North Chicago, and it's in a similar situation. And it's people just if they care, it'll make a difference. But it seems like they just don't care. But it takes a lot of funding now. You campaign all over the city. You mentioned about signs and so forth, and they cost money. Do you have any fundraising activities going on?
I recently had a fundraiser at the end of February. Going forward, I'm taking donations, but I'm not planning on any big type of fundraisers. Going forward, I'll self-finance the rest of the way. I do have some campaign cash still from that fundraiser that I'm planning on spending. And now that they've curtailed how many voting sites we have in North Chicago, so it's really it's 4 major sites in this for the Foss Park District, 3 in the city of North Chicago. The cost to actually have people staffing people outside of voting sites will be greatly reduce this election. Primarily, I can get away with just volunteers going out there.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with a young man in North Chicago that's trying to make a difference. Mr. Vance Wyatt, currently a trustee of City North Chicago Public Library, and he's, as I mentioned, the youngest library trustee in United States history. He's elected at 20 years of age.
Appointed.
Appointed 20 years of age. Then
I ran for alderman.
It's an appointed position because the mayor appoints.
Yes, in North Chicago, because we're a city library, we're one of 7 different versions of library. We're the one that's appointed.
Yeah.
So we're appointed in North Chicago. We're not we're separate. We're independent special revenue agency. So we're separate from the city council. So we operate completely separate from them. The only thing is they control our tax levy, so we don't increase our property taxes, and the mayor appoints the board.
He appoints with the support of the council,
with the advice and consent of the council. Yes.
Mr. Vance is going door to door, which is a coverage of North Chicago has a population of about 32,574, but how many voters?
Well, it's not just North Chicago. It's I have part of Waukegan, part of Lake Bluff. I have Great Lakes, but there's a small portion of North Chicago that's actually in Lake Forest or Lake Bluff Park District. But it's the majority of North Chicago. So it's about 40,000 residents, and I'm only expecting about 500 people to come out this election because it is an off mayoral election, and even those elections are very low for our turnout.
And is that a 6-year term?
These are 6-year terms.
Okay.
Both positions or both open seats are 6-year terms. I don't know about those 2 that you referred to that can't come to the meetings. Those positions are still